And what lessons do you think we, as ordinary South Africans, who are not only followers of Kaizer Chiefs, but who are looking to you as a leader, what lessons are we meant to draw from you?
Well, I've worked in quite a few countries. I mean, my father, God bless him, he used to say that you've had more clubs than Jack Nicklaus, but and they've taken me all around the world. And I think what I take from working in different countries with different cultures, with different mentalities, as a coach, is just finding the keys to open the boxes. And that's really the privilege that I have working with now South African athletes, is the fact that what makes them happy does not make a Japanese footballer happy. What makes him intimidated is not the same as a Swede or an English player, you know. So that is the privilege I have through working all over the world. And the things that normal people can take from watching Kaizer Chiefs or watching Orlando Pirates or watching Manchester United is that it becomes a sort of microcosm of life, you know. You get hit, you go down. You stay down, you get sold. You get yourself up and win a championship, you're worth a lot of money. And that's the sort of players that we want. You know, the resilience, the enjoy the challenge, solve the problems, don't turn your back on them, don't lie down. That's the sort of player that we want, and I'm sure that that's the sort of life that people want, you know, and those are the lessons from sport.
Indeed. And so what lessons do you draw in leading in a sport like netball?
I think just from my side, you know, it's just understanding that the players come from different spheres of life, and just how do you get them together to produce the results that you know that we aspire to. And one of the things, just understanding and knowing our players very well. We're all different. We all have different skills and attributes. But how do you get those goals that, you know, I mean, it's not a professional sport for us, but we do it because we're so passionate about it. How do you get all those goals to make the sacrifices that they do, you know, to still deliver and to still go and carry the South African flag high? So the lessons learned is, you know, take the different skills and put them together to really produce something that's phenomenal. And that's what the Gulls believe in, and that's what the Gulls are trying to achieve at this stage.
There's some people in South Africa who yearn still for the days of old where rugby was an amateur sport, where you played for province. I come from province, because that's what you wanted to do, as opposed to who's going to buy you at the highest amount. I sent a team to the London Olympics and Paralympics, and we enjoyed a lot of success. A lot of people, though, were saying that it was probably less to the wonderful efforts of Athletics South Africa and more to the individual and the coaching support that those athletes were getting.
Yes, well, I think it could go right across the board in all the sports, not just athletics, but if you count our swimming. I had the privilege of sitting next to Chad le Clos a while ago, and the most famous Olympic participant in the world, his father, was very firm about saying those medals are the direct result of loving, supportive parents, great coaches, and hard-working individuals, and not so much to do with the various bodies who look after them. And I have a major problem when a team goes overseas and the officials fly business class and the team sits in the back. That's not leadership to me. Leadership that's fine if you know, you've been summoned to Switzerland for a meeting, you know, with the Olympic Committee. That's fine. Go business class. But when you go with a team, you all go over the top together. You need to be at the back with the pole vaulter who's 6'6", in economy class, you know, sitting like this. That's leadership. So there seems to be a big gap, and you know, going back again, thank goodness for my archaeological background, but going back to the old days, certainly in road running, there was one paid official, and that was the secretary who did the general work. Everybody else actually did it because they loved it. Yes, all their expenses were met. You know, if you've got to fly to a South African championship, you fly there and you stay in a hotel, and that's fine. But they did it because they had a passion and a love for athletics. Now I see, and it's not just in athletics, but maybe in quite a few sports, people are more concerned about keeping their jobs. And there's a big difference between passion for the sport and seeing it as a job.
Paddy, you do quite a bit of work in transferring, if you like, the lessons that can be learned in sports leadership and how we can apply them in many other areas of life.
As I mentioned earlier, I think to sum it up, it's on the one side is the skill and the potential in the sports science, which it's something that I dealt with when I was a fitness trainer in the Proteas in the 90s, and I think we had the best use of sports science in world cricket with Tim Noakes and Bob Woolmer, team at the time, really leading. But for me, there was something missing. We had all that in place, and that was the people side. And I mentioned the fertile flower garden, and there's principles of leadership that are transferable and work everywhere, whether it's business, sport, rearing children. It's focusing on what people do well, not on what they do badly. It's focusing on successes and building confidence rather than trying to fix problems and sort things out that don't work. It's giving people responsibility for making decisions for themselves. I mean, one lovely incident in India was Rahul Dravid had gone, he's the third highest test run scorer in the history of the game. He had gone 14 months without scoring 100, and people were saying to him, it's time for him to be dropped. Now, in India, they're so fanatical. The person responsible for dropping such an icon, literally their house would get burnt and stoned. So the selectors, everyone looked at the selectors and said, well, we've picked the 15. He's in the 15. It's up to coach and captain to pick the playing 11, so it's over to them. And then, of course, MS Dhoni and Gary get together, and Gary Kirsten to decide whether Rahul gets picked for the first test against England. And MS Dhoni, in his wisdom, says, well, Gary, there's reasons to play him and reasons not to. I think you decide, and I'll back your decision. So Gary came to me, and he said, Pat, I've got this dilemma, and I'm being left with the decision, do we pick Rahul or drop him? And I sort of said, well, Gazza, whatever decision you take, I'll sort of back you. And he said, but no, it's obvious. It's obvious what to do. And Gary just turned, he walked out my room and he went and knocked on Rahul's door. And the last thing as a cricketer that you want is a knock on your door 20 minutes before the team meeting, because it only means one thing. And Rahul opened it and he said, Gaz, I know why you're here. I know the decision is going to land on your shoulders. I understand. And whatever decision you make, I will back you to the hilt, and if I got to carry drinks, I'll carry drinks, which is a testimony to the man, because a senior cricketer, if he's asked to sit out, he'll leave it for the junior guys to carry drinks for 5 days. And Gary said, well, Rahul, actually, you're the guy who's the axe is over your head. You're the guy who's got to cross the ropes. You're the guy who's got the pressure. You're the guy who's got to perform. So I'm asking you, you make the decision. Do we pick you for this test match or not? And Rahul was sort of taken back to, what you mean? He said, yeah, you decide. And he said, absolutely. I want to play. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to make the decision. He scored 144 in the first innings.
Wow.
So it's that kind of thing. How can we give the responsibility and allow people to grow, so we don't have to sit there watching a 3-on-2 situation in the rugby and you watch a forward try and come on the inside when there's an obvious overlap, and we think, what are you thinking? When cricket, a guy tries to hit a boundary when he actually just needs to hit one down the ground, and we sit there spectators and we can see, what are you thinking? But are we really, as coaches and administrators, helping people to make decisions for themselves, or always coaches and leaders making decisions and telling people what to do? So it's growing that fertile environment. And I think for me, and it's already been touched on with all the other three speakers, for me, what is the single most important thing for certainly my work and my work with, we've got a very new coaching staff now with the Proteas, with a new coach, a new assistant coach, a new spin bowling coach, and Alan Donald, in fact, is the only coach who still remains. And what we're working on is being really, really clear on what is our intention. Because when you get into the limelight and you get paid good money and you get to do press interviews and you get free clothing and sunglasses and fly business class, it's very easy to get caught up in the limelight. And it's to remember what is, and the intention that we try and keep reminding ourselves is we're there to help the individual and the team be the best that they can be. And it's about them. And the more success that is achieved, the more difficult it becomes as coaches. Now, certainly with India, with Gary Kirsten, the fact that India, we got to number 1 in the world, we won the World Cup. We were literally on a daily basis, and Gary was being written up in the media, and we were talking about it's not about us. And people can say Gary's the greatest coach out. but it's not about Gary Kirsten. It's about keep remembering I'm here to serve the individual to be the best that they can be. And the moment that I start doing it for myself or start enjoying the limelight, and I personally have been there, get up in front of a team meeting and I want to talk, and I realize afterwards, actually I wanted to show the team how much I know or how clever I was, or I wanted to make a contribution so the guys could say, oh, Paddy really is helping. That doesn't work. It's never as effective as what does the team need? What is the best offering I can make? And if there is no offering or it's not the time, then be quiet. So if you're serving, genuinely serving as an administrator, coach, a leader, a fitness trainer, parent, and it's about the individual, you can never get it wrong. Because even if you do get it wrong and they say, no, but actually there's a better way, you say, cool, if there's a better way, then let's go for it. It's not about my way, it's about what's best for you.
And I think that's a lovely point to end it on. Thank you very much to Paddy Upton. Stuart Baxter. Bruce Fordyce. And Simnike Wemdaka. Thank you very much for being part of the panel.